I'm Dr. Chamonix Blanche, ex-corporate and academical, turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Chamonix TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids here in Down Under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard. Hi Duncan, thank you so much for joining us on the interview today. It's lovely to see your smiley face all the way from Melbourne. How have you been?
Very good. Yourself?
I've been really good. Yes, surviving through COVID and through the heat, and it's just been actually quite good over here in Perth. How are things going in Melbourne? Are you getting through all the lockdowns?
Yeah, we had severe lockdowns in 2020. It was pretty hard. I've been working from home since March. So we went back to the office late November, and we're in the office 1 week out of every 3. I had a son do year 12. My wife's in real estate, so that was quite challenging. It was closed quite a bit of the time. And we also run 2 properties up in country Victoria, which were closed for 5 months. So, and my son, 21-year-old, he was meant to start a job as a draftsman. He's just finished his building design course, and that job fell through. So yeah, 2020 was an interesting year, a lot of challenges, but we got through it all right.
So 1 son, you said, no other children?
No, got 4 boys. So I came from South Africa with 2 boys. So they're 38 and 35 now. The oldest lives in New Zealand with 2 young grandchildren, and the 35-year-old lives in Detroit in the United States.
Wow.
And I've got a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old that were a product of my second marriage, which is to a local Australian girl.
Wow, so your family is so scattered all over the world. They're in everywhere except South Africa, it sounds like.
No, we had an interesting Zoom meeting on the 3rd of January with my cousins. We all lived together in PE within streets of each other, and we had a Zoom meeting, and myself in Melbourne, cousin in Kent, one in Cape Town, 2 in Johannesburg, my sister in Johannesburg, 1 in Connecticut, my sister in San Diego, and another cousin in Thousand Oaks, north of LA. And we had a 1.5-hour meeting, cousins catch up, but we haven't seen each other for 30 odd years. So it's fun.
Wow, that is so interesting. And thank goodness for technology that we can do that, isn't it? For interest sake, did you use Zoom?
Yeah, we used Zoom. So I've had an interesting year with Zoom and other technologies. I had my son's 18th via Zoom. And we managed to get mum on because my niece was visiting up in Mackay. My mum is in Mackay. I've been to Zoom 60th. I've been to Zoom funerals even. So yeah, interesting.
Wow. Oh, I want to say it's good that you're able to do. I mean, it's nothing beats being there in the flesh, but wow, the fact that we can do this. And tell us your story. You came many years ago, you said?
Yeah, so what I suppose what happened was I love history, and I suppose studying Africa and Uhuru and what happened in post-colonial Africa, I didn't see much future for myself and my children. I was 2 years national service. I did camps. I just saw no future under a white government, and I saw less of a future under the alternative. And I think history's proved me correct. And I worked as a computer programmer, and I saw an advert for a job in Australia. I'd been looking at Australia and Canada, probably the only two options or New Zealand that were available back in the mid 80s. And I applied for the position, and I was offered the position. So I started the paperwork, and it took 15 months to finally arrive. But we had to sell a house and pack up, and we decided to send our goods before we left and camp on the other side, because we had family who could lend us, mattresses to sleep on the floor. And so that was 3 months of camping while our goods were on the sea, so to speak. And we arrived, we couldn't fly direct in those days because of sanctions. So we had to fly from Joburg to Mauritius to Hong Kong. We had to spend a day in Hong Kong, and then Hong Kong, Sydney, Melbourne. So the whole lot took about 48 hours. With a 4-year-old and a 19-month-old. Was pretty challenging.
And I assume at that point you'd never been to Australia before, is that
No,
right?
came sight unseen, packed up everything and said, we just got to make it happen. No money to go back. So, yeah.
And clearly you made it happen. Are you happy that you made it happen?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, my wife and I are no longer together, and I've since remarried, and I've been married 22 years to a local girl. But we've got 2 gorgeous kids, and we've been fairly successful. I'm looking forward to retirement, hopefully in about 5 or 6 years, and we've done okay. But that's been smart as well. It's not just luck. There's a lot of hard work and a lot of saving and being smart about money and
exactly.
Stuff like that.
They say the harder you try, the luckier you get.
So yeah, we got a couple of rental properties, and got a house and block of land for when we retire and that sort of stuff. But if you're wise and smart and save and you're pretty frugal, you can make a success in this country.
So where about in South Africa were you? You said PE?
Yeah, I was born in Port Elizabeth. I come from a family that came out from England in the 1850s, and my great-grandfather, he was 2 years old. They came out on a boat 60 days from Liverpool with a 4-year-old, 2-year-old and a 9-month-old. So they did it pretty tough too.
Wow.
And yeah, they were brickmakers. So they did pretty well in Africa. And I left PE to go to the army, and then I moved to Johannesburg after the army days. I got transferred by Barclays Bank, and took up a career in computing. And then I lived in Joburg for 6 years before I emigrated. But yeah, PE is my home, I suppose. It's always loved going back.
So would you go back on a more permanent base?
No. I went back in 2017 for my 40th school reunion. My last 2 trips have been for my 25th and my 40th. I'm pretty close to my class group. We're all good mates, and especially those of us who are in the boarding house, we're extra close. I could slip back into it quite easily, but I don't think my wife could. She's not South African. It's different for her. I could, but I couldn't expect her to. And I've made a life here now. So yeah, it's great to go back on a trip. The cousins, we're talking about Easter 2022 in Knysna. My one cousin's got a house on Teeson Island. So that's a dream for all of us to meet up again, but whether that happens is another story.
I guess COVID has changed a lot of things, and nobody knows what the future holds for us. So
yes, carry on, sorry.
No, I just say thank you. Thankfully for people like you who work in software, you make things possible for us to be able to meet up virtually.
Yes, well, I won't claim any kudos from Zoom, but my auntie in Cape Town got COVID, and my cousin in London's got COVID, and she's pregnant too. So it has affected my family as well. But we've been pretty lucky here in Australia. Victoria's had the worst of it,
Mm.
you know, with the breakout from hotel quarantine. I won't go into the politics of that, but you know, we had 111 days of severe lockdown in Melbourne with 5-kilometre limit, one person per day for 1 hour out. It was pretty tough.
Yeah, but it worked because
Yeah,
it brought
it
under
worked. It
control
shouldn't have
again.
happened,
Yeah.
but yeah, we
Yeah.
did what we did to fix it. And,
Now tell me, Duncan, what is the best thing for you about living in Australia?
I think just the freedom of not, you know, if you leave your door open at night, that's not to say there's no robberies and stuff. I have been house robbed here. My house got knocked over just before we got married in 1998, but you get robbed. You know, it's usually a druggie looking for money or something you can sell. You don't get robbed, stuck up, raped, shot, and that type of thing. So it's usually a crime of that's related to drugs. It's not, you know, and you probably wouldn't get robbed with somebody in your house as such. I've had a car stolen, but you know, I had a car and a bike stolen in Johannesburg. So it's not utopia. It's not perfect, but just the freedom to drive around and not be scared. You know, drive through traffic lights without having to stop. Yeah, it's just having that, and if you work hard, you can be successful. There's no discrimination based on your color. So there's no BE or any of those types of things that are working against you. You know, I work in an environment with Malaysians, Indonesians, Canadians, South Africans, Aussies, Indians, you name it. I mean, it's just a hodgepodge of people with wonderful cultures, wonderful food. You can eat your way around the world here. It's just fantastic. You know,
It's
especially in
almost
Melbourne.
like that. You don't have to leave Australia to feel like you're somewhere else.
Well, I just driving around today, I saw a little place I need to tell my wife. It was Taste of Borneo. And in 2019, as a treat for my 60th, her 50th, and our 21st wedding anniversary, we went to Borneo and Kuala Lumpur. And we saw orangutans in the wild, and it was just fantastic. And you know, you have that ability to travel in Asia, and that's
So, what is the thing that you miss the most about South Africa?
My family and my friends. But probably most of all after that is the bush. And I tried to explain it to my wife, and we had our honeymoon there in '98, and she said to me, I know what you mean. This place has got a heartbeat. It's got a smell. It's got something. So going to Kruger, and I took her to Addo and Shamwari and Mountain Zebra, and you know, we did a lot of game parks and Zululand, where my sister was living at the time, and Grangestown, where I went to school, and Craddock, that she loved. We did the Swartberg Pass in a car. We went down to Swellendam and went up Table Mountain. We did a full 4 weeks. Pilanesberg, you know, Sun City, Kruger, you know, we did it all. You know, I did a really good trip for her.
Crash course.
Yeah, garden routes, you know, the whole lot. And she said, yeah, beautiful country. She loves the food. She loves boerewors and biltong and rusks, and she doesn't like anchovette. She tells me I've been eating cat food, but anyway, my anchovette's safe. But my biltong and boerewors I've got to hide from the Aussies, so they like to get their teeth into that.
Do you go back regularly?
No, I've only been back. No, I've only been back 4 times in 34 years. I didn't go back for nine, nearly 10 years. So when my first marriage, you know, fell apart, Mum and Dad were still living there then, and Mum said, come home, it's time to come home. And I went back in 96, and then I went back in 98 for a honeymoon. I met an Aussie girl in 97, and I was 38, she was 28, so we said, what the hell, let's stop buggering around, let's just get married and get on with it. And then I went back in 2002 for my school 25th reunion. I was the 3rd generation at my school, and then I went back 2017 for my school 40th reunion. And that's the only 4 times I've been back. So.
But you keep in touch with your friends?
Oh yeah,
via
we've got
Zoom
our own
and things?
Facebook page, and yeah, last time I went to New Zealand, I caught up with a schoolmate who lives in the same town as my son. Caught up with another one in Auckland. You know, guys have come to Melbourne on business and, you know, spent a day with me. And I go to Adelaide, I catch up with Anthony. You know, a guy who lives in Perth who's a harbour master. He came to Melbourne. We caught up for the night, got out the old photo albums and, you know, talked about stuff. So yeah, we all know where everyone else lives and keep in touch, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't go through 12 years of school together without, you know, forming a bond.
Oh, especially boarding school.
Oh,
yes. Yeah, that makes a massive difference. So you've told us what's the thing that you love about Australia. You've told us what's the thing that you miss about South Africa. What's the one thing about Australia that bugs you?
Red tape. For a nation that prides itself on bucking against authority, geez, they do red tape well in this country. My son's just trying to enroll in Monash University. He's just been awarded a place for Bachelor of Science. And oh my God, fathers, it's just the red tape is just mind-boggling. You know, it just does my head in. Dealing with councils or state governments or federal governments, and you know, just process for the sake of process. For someone who's a business systems analyst now, I don't do, you know, software anymore. I live on process. My whole life's around process, but it's got to be process that adds value. It's not process for the sake of process. So yeah, that just drives me scatty. Just does my head in.
Yes.
And I'm at that age now. I can be a grumpy old man if I want to be. And I can be a grumpy old prick. So.
I'm sure your wife does not think that way.
No, she does.
Oh, Duncan, it's been lovely to talk to you. I really do enjoy hearing all about your life and how you've settled in. If there are people watching this thinking, gosh, should we move to Australia or not? What would you say to them?
Don't delay. The sooner you do it, the easier it is. My sister came in 2001. My parents came very late in life, but you know, Dad was pretty smart financially too, and he set Mum up quite well. Dad passed in November 2019. Just the day after I got back from Borneo, actually, I managed to get to Mackay in time with about 4 hours to spare. But you can do it later in life, but it's a lot easier if you do it earlier in life. It's easier for your children to assimilate. It's probably easier for you to assimilate. I'm not big on, I've got South African friends, but I'm not big on these enclaves. And probably another thing that peeves me about Australia is the ex-South Africans who complain about Australia. It's like, you know, things like trolley wheels, you know, that don't behave in that. It's like, seriously, people, it's first world problems. It's, you know, and a Bunnings snag is not a Boerewors roll, but it's a Bunnings snag. It's just get over it. I mean, if you miss South Africa so much, then go back. But it's different. A lot of it's the same, but embrace the differences. Keep a part of where you come from in your heart. But yeah, you got to move on. It's, you know.
You'll never settle in if you don't accept
the
place you're in.
You've got to accept it, and you've also got to accept the things you can't change about life, and you got to accept those things. And the older you get, I think hopefully the wiser you become, and you say, well, you can't worry about things you can't control. So like when COVID hit and stuff like that, and it knocked us financially and the rest of it, it was, well, shit, we can't control this. So what do we do about it? How can we make it better? My son's not doing his career that he wants to do, but he's got a job and he's earning, you know, good enough money, and he's bringing something in. He's saving to get a house or an apartment. But, you know, in a couple of years' time, hopefully he'll be a draftsman again. But at the moment, delivering wheelie bins and repairing wheelie bins, you know.
But he's got a job.
It's a great use of a private education, but at the same time, he's gainfully employed and he's out of my hair. When I'm working from home, I don't have a 21-year-old lounging on the couch, getting on my nerves. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, any job at this point in time is a great job. For starters, sanity, as you say.
And I think, you know, I worked in pubs and I worked in restaurants and everything in South Africa, you know, when I was younger and stuff. And I think it's good to have jobs like that because it teaches you, it's a lot humbling. So, you know, when you go to a restaurant now, you know, you treat wait staff like you treat a CEO. You treat the cleaner the way you treat a CEO, and that's something you learn in Australia. You treat everybody with respect. You know, everyone is a human being, and no matter what their job is, you treat them with respect, and you get respect back.
Or cultural background or color, it does not matter.
Color, creed, I really don't care. You know, and we have 2 cottages. I don't care where you come from. As long as you treat my property with respect, I'll treat you with respect.
Yeah, it's interesting how many friends I've had in Australia, for people I've met and had some conversations with. And then after hours, I realized I don't even know what these people do or where they live, but you've just been having such a great, exactly. It doesn't matter. But the first thing in South Africa they ask you usually is, what suburb do you live in and what car do you drive and what do you do for a job? So things are very different.
As I say, huh?
Yeah. Thanks so much for your time. We really did enjoy hearing your side and giving us such great advice for the people wanting to come over. Would you have any leaving thoughts for South Africans about Australia specifically? Anything that they should remember to pack in their bags if they come over?
The 2 schools of thought. We brought everything because we didn't have any money, put it that way. So when we came, we probably had $10,000. We got a lot more for our money back then, obviously. But yeah, we basically had enough to buy a car, and the company I worked for helped us, you know, with a loan because it was a bank. But yeah, you know, make the choice of whether you if you've got money, you might not want to bring stuff. Most of my stuff's gone. My freezer's still working 34 years later. my chest freezer's working. But electrical goods, TVs and stuff like that, I wouldn't bother. I'd pack good furniture that or stuff that's of sentimental value. But yeah, you know, if you want to arrive with, you know, the suitcase or a couple of suitcases each and go from there, no, that's fine too. Everybody's journey's different. Everybody's story's different. You know, there's no right way or wrong way. You know, well, that's the way we did it. It worked for us. And we had something when we got here, and we, you know, moved into a rental house, and 6 months later we bought a house. And we got on, I'd say get on the property ladder as soon as possible. I can't stress that enough. Getting on the property ladder is really, really hard. You're not going to have what you had before. You're going to be doing your own housework. Your standards are going to drop from the way your house is. Your garden is going to be different too. You're not going to have manicured lawns. If it's green, you mow it. Simple as that. I get a gardening service in because literally I could not be fire trucked at my age. They do more in 2 hours with all their equipment, and I phone the guy and I say, Josh, come in. He comes in 2 hours later. Wishka, it's all taken away. It's all done for me. Yeah, I just couldn't be bothered. You know, it's probably a little bit of South Africa that's still in me too. I hate gardening. You know, that's just me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different. A lot of it's the same. A lot of it's different. You know, barbecues. It's not a braai. You can't braai here in Victoria a lot because of fire regulations. So it's gas. Deal with it. You know, if you don't want to do gas, then you're not going to do it. So. Well,
you can move somewhere else in Australia where they don't have those restrictions, and you
exactly.
can live there.
but at the same time, I'm not sitting and I'm doing a full wood braai to, cook 4 sausages and a piece of steak. That's
You've got some other things you want to do.
yeah, the better thing. But you're really lucky now. There are a lot of South African food stores. I get biltong, druivorst, and boerewors delivered by Bushman Meats. It's fantastic. Mariki really looks after me. I've got young Tanya Nell who makes lovely biscuits, and she delivers as well. When we got here, I used to rely on mum and dad's trip every 2 years with all the goodies that came out of the suitcase. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You go to Woolworths and get Buddy Mrs. Ball's chutney. It's
exactly.
It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier now than it used to be. So
yeah. Thanks so much. It has been very interesting hearing all of your things and for sharing your insight. I'm sure that there will be people that will think back about what Duncan had said and hopefully get on the plane and make their way to Australia. It's absolutely worth it. I can't agree with you anymore.
Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.